Hi guys, my name is Nonima Tikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about how Mnisi checkmate the state in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. They thought they were walking into a formality. They thought it would be a rubber stamp. They thought this was just another statement. They were wrong. Advocate Mnisi did not argue. He baited. He waited. Then he flipped the board. The state did a fatal misread, okay? The state assumed precedent would save them. They assumed Mnisi would do what everyone else did with Absalom Zungu's statement. Mama objections, note irregularities, and then let it slide into evidence anyway. Why would he do that? That's how it's always done when the state is sloppy. But Mnisi saw the trap before it closed. The chess move they never saw coming. I love Mnisi for this. Instead of arguing around the statement, Mnisi forced the state to prove it. Not rhetorically, not politically, legally, procedurally, brutally. He said, in effect, you want the statement, then end it. Prove every inch of it. Who took it, how it was taken, under what conditions, and whether it was free and voluntarily. And just like that, the burden shifted, the shortcut vanished, the state panicked. And this is why they were like, oh, it is devastating for them because the state's entire strategy relied on assumption that procedure wouldn't be challenged, assumption that credibility wouldn't be tested, assumption that the court would just allow it, assumption that defense will move on. Mnisi shattered every one of those assumptions. He didn't fight the statement. He put it on trial. That's what he did. And one of the reasons all of that happened is because Advocate Baloyi is always undermining the defense. Here, he's always undermining them. Even though many times they shifted things, they flipped the board for him, he still undermines them. He does not see them like equals to him. He undermines. Now, the state ended up being badly dribbled by Advocate Mnisi. This wasn't cross-examination. This wasn't argument. This was positional warfare. Mnisi forced the state into a corner where any witness opens new contradictions, any explanation exposes earlier lies, any shortcut becomes appeal material, any failure is equal to exclusion of the statement. They weren't prepared because they never expected to be forced to prove their own paperwork. That's how badly they misread him. And there was a bigger picture. The move exposed something far more dangerous. The state has been coasting on judicial indulgence. They've been coasting on judicial indulgence. They rely on habit, not compliance. They expect defense to protest, not enforce. Mnisi enforced. And once enforcement begins, the entire case starts collapsing under its own weight. The entire case starts collapsing under its own weight. This is why elite defense work in silence until it detonates. No theatrics, no shouting, just one cold question. Prove it. And suddenly, the state realizes too late they came to court unharmed. They came to court unarmed, and now they are unable to prove a statement. Check, not yet made, but the king is exposed. The king is exposed because what Mnisi did there, it can't be undone. It is there on record and it can't be undone. We all know in every criminal trial, there is a moment the state fears most. Not when the witness collapses, not when the evidence when evidence is excluded, but when the defense stop reacting and starts controlling the board, that is not good. And that moment has a name, Advocate Mnisi. That was not argument, that was not protest, that was a chess ambush, and the state walked straight into it without even realizing it. Because the state has been sitting in a comfortable delusion. The state arrived confident, relaxed, almost bored. Why? Because they thought they knew the script of the defense. They had seen this movie before. Statement came in, objections are noted, the court strikes, proceedings move on. That's what happened with Absalom Zungu's statement. Raise consent, yes, but ultimately it goes in. The state assumed Mnisi would do the same thing, argue defects, vent frustration, reserve issues for appeal, then let statement side through. The assumption was the first fatal mistake. Mnisi did not attack. He set the trap. Mnisi didn't rush. He didn't posture. He didn't object theatrically. He let the state talk, let them expose their comfort, let them reveal their laziness. And then quietly, he shifted the entire tribe. He didn't say the statement is problematic. He said, prove it. Not emotionally, not politically, procedurally. Suddenly, the statement wasn't evidence anymore. It was an accused object. Now, if the entire situation become the board that flips burden of proof shifts, this is where the state froze. Because Mnisi's move did something devastating. He dragged the state back to first principle, and they hated it. He forced them to prove the admissibility, not assume it. He made procedure the battlefield. Not now the state had to answer who took the statement, when was it taken, under what conditions, was the accused warned, was the witness warned, what was he? Was he an accused? Was he a witness? What was happening? Was it voluntarily? Was there coercion? Was there contamination? Was there assault? Was there inducement? There are no formalities that were not met by Mnisi with his request. Prove it. And in fact, these are not just formalities, these are landmines. And the state was badly tripled there. They were badly tripled. The state wasn't ready because they've been spoiled. They rely on judicial indulgence, procedural shortcuts, defense fatigue. We'll explain later that culture because wow. Mnisi destroyed that culture in one sentence. When forced to prove the statement, the state faced a nightmare. Call witnesses, open contradictions, avoid witnesses, statement excluded. Explain procedures, expose past illegality. Rush the process, create appeal poison. There was no safe move. That's not advocacy failure, that's strategic inhalation. That is what Mnisi did. It was never about the statement. This was the public must understand. This is what the public must understand when it comes to what Mnisi did. He was exposing a systematic disease, a prostitution that assumes compliance will replace proof. Once the assumption dies, everything dies with it. Because if the statement must be proven, what about the others? What about earlier confessions? What about disputed interviews? What about the alleged admissions? One proven statement becomes precedent, and precedent terrifies weak cases. And that alone was the silent humiliation of the state. Notice something important. The state didn't explode. They didn't dominate. They didn't control the pace. They hesitated. They conferred. They scrambled. That's the sound of strategy collapsing in real time. Mnisi didn't need to win the argument that day. He forced the state to fight tomorrow on his terms. So that's what they are busy doing with every saga that came after that. That's elite defensing. That is elite defense lawyering, guys. That's what Mnisi did. And that moment will always haunt the state. From this moment forward, every shortcut is suspicious, every statement is vulnerable, every indulgence is reviewable, every mistake compounds. The state now knows something dangerous. They can't coast anymore. And cases built on momentum, not legality, do not survive scrutiny. They never do. This is why Mnisi is feared, not because he shouts, not because he postures, not because he attacks witnesses, but because he understands one brutal truth. In criminal law, whoever controls procedure controls destiny. And that day, the state lost control. That is what happened. But the king was, okay, maybe we are not yet there by not yet checkmate. But the king is exposed, the priests are scattered, and the clock is ticking on the Senzo Meyiwa case. Let's talk comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. What are your thoughts? Bye-bye.